one of our Build It Live 2022 trailers. I have an extra special guest with me today. My good man, Tim, what's going on?
Not much, Juan. I'm super excited to be here today. I can't wait for the big event. And just building up to the event is just more exciting every day. Every time I see something new on LinkedIn, I see some new marketing out there. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a great event.
I can't tell you how excited I am. I think that today is kind of a culmination of excitement. We're going to be talking about a lot of great things like the Build It Live event coming up July 27th through 29th. Huge event for MSPs, massive education event, man. And today is one of those things where I get to talk to you, Tim, and we get to talk a little bit about how we're helping out MSPs and a little bit about the event as well. And I think we're going to hear something about some snacks.
Oh, well, maybe.
so, thanks everyone for joining us as you guys are all jumping in today. This is going to be an amazing conversation with me and Tim. Tim, I want to do a quick introduction, real quick, though. You are the director of Kick Ass MSP over at Gradient, right?
I am. What a title, right?
I always every time I see that, like I think of the movie Kick Ass, and I think how awesome would it be to have that in my MSP title? But give me an idea of what that means. How'd you get that title?
So I got the title. So if you've ever seen one of my presentations, I go over basically my background a bit, and it's essentially I've spent a little bit of time in every place that an MSP goes, right? So like I was the client, I was the MSP. I also get bored really easily. So like doing new things is very interesting to me. So one of the things that happened is I end up with a partner for about 10 years, a super high end engineer. And we basically went from company to company and rebuilt MSPs. Maybe they didn't need to be rebuilt. Maybe they just needed a little better processes and procedures. And we did that. So when I came to Gradient, this company is founded in the MSP world, right? So
Yeah.
Colin and Ryan, like that's where their heart lies. That's really where their foundation was. And it just so happened like they're fixing problems. That's how Passportal came about.
Yep.
And then it's like when I came on board, it was like, man, Tim, it would be really great if you would just share your experience with the community and help them out.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's literally how to better be a kick ass MSP. MSPs are kick ass just by their nature, right? Like, well, look at what they do. But with that being said, it's also very much like, how can we help them in the day to day? Because what we tend to do is be the cobbler's kid, right? We don't
Yeah.
work on ourselves. Well, that's what Gradient's about. And that's part of why they got me here is to help MSPs any way I can, anyhow I can. Sometimes it's just a listening ear, but other times it's like, here's how I do processes. Here's how I do this. Here's how I help you be better.
I love the all tides raise all ships mentality, man, and being a go giver. Really, thanks for giving back to the community. I feel the same way. As I stepped out of that world in the MSP light to come in and help MSPs. It's just, I think that's the beauty of what the MSP community is that we're all here to help each other. And I love the fact that you're bringing kick ass into it because I think we do all kick ass together, right? So it's
You're
really
absolutely
fun to have
correct.
you.
Let's not bypass that one. That's a huge thing, right? Like we used to always talk about like we always talked about, how to sell. How do we sell? What's the
Yeah,
win-win? What's the next thing? You guys went completely different. We started a few years ago
yeah,
encroaching into this. Well, maybe we should educate our customers and our clients instead of just sell at them. Maybe
yeah.
we need to bring them into the conversation. You guys took that to a larger step and said, how do we help educate the MSPs, right? So I like how you just kind of grazed over that, but the importance of what you guys are doing is huge because you made education your primary focus.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Sonny and Cam had a unique vision, years ago when they created Build It. And that was one of the reasons that I originally had ever talked to them, is because it was all about teaching MSPs how to do better things. And it had struck a chord with me, right? And so, and just from that, that's where a lot of the passion flow has come in for this entire conference, is really building it around helping MSPs build better businesses. And so, it's not definitely not anything to be grazed over for sure, but I do often you glance past it because we are going to talk about the MSP Leader's Guide to Investing in Our Company Culture today, and I want to dive into that. But before we do that, Tim, I want to start off I always start off the show asking a trivia question, and I think today is an interesting one because I've always asked this question, and I've never asked Colin this either. So, what's our trivia question for today, Tim?
So the trivia question for today is, why the flamingo?
Yeah,
Why is the flamingo the mascot of Gradient MSP?
yeah. I want to know the answer to this because I've never asked. I love the marketing behind it. When you guys came out with that flocking good time, I was like, that is so good.
Oh, it's such a great word that you can use. You can put anything on the end of it or on the beginning of it, and flock this and flock that. It's so all over the place. It's so great. But I mean, yeah, it's the flamingo is great. So right now, if you guys haven't been keeping up, there's a challenge going on, right? So we have old Phil that we all know and love, right? But then new Phil's coming about. He's more this new age digital monster, like the big wings are spread. Like he's pretty awesome too. So there's a pretty serious debate right now on old Phil or new Phil and which side you sit on.
Oh man, so that leads us into it. You guys love to give back to the community. You guys do such an amazing job. I've actually even thought about coming to the booth for one of those amazing back rubs you guys get. Like I love those. Anytime I see you guys' booth, I'm like, God, I wish I could go get one of those. Uh, but giving back is one big thing for you guys. And today, two lucky winners are going to win tickets to Build It Live 2022. And today's code that you guys have done is a connotation of what you just said. It's Team Phil.
Team Phil, right? It's always about that's the thing is about the team. That's part of what I love about this company is it's not about any one individual. I mean, everybody knows who Colin is, right? Not everybody knows who Ryan is, even though Ryan is a major like guy. Like he's not just some operations guy. Ryan's actually pretty significant in our company. But it goes down to, I mean, look at Dave, look at any of the people in this company. It's all about the community. It's all about the team. It's how can we help those around us, right? Because they really have embodied, you know, what I think we kind of come to as we get a little bit older, hopefully a little bit wiser, is life is really about servitude. How do I help others achieve their goals? And
Yeah.
that's exactly what we're doing here today with the conversation we're having today. That's what Gradient's about. It's like helping, the MSPs. That's why we focus on MSPs. A lot of people don't realize that we don't have a product that you can sell your clients because we want to focus on them. We want to help them be better and be part of their team.
And I think that's really important. I say this often, and anybody that ever gets a chance, or I speak with MSPs in any number of fashions, I say it's all about the process that enables the people to be successful, which creates a culture which propels a business. And I like what you're saying there because it's all about team, right? And that's why I want to get into the kind of our topic for today and really ask, you know, what is your take on culture, and why is it important? You guys have done such an amazing job. I mean, look at the mascot, look at what you guys have created, the company as a whole. I mean, it just anytime if you've ever been around Tim, and I will say this for everyone that's here, anybody at Gradient, whenever you guys go in by the booth, you feel it. And it's interesting to see the culture that you guys have created. And why is it important, Tim? Like, what is your thought around that? And it's kind of talk us through some of that.
Well, think about the old days, right? We trade time for money. That's what we do as employees. We go somewhere and we take a job and we agree to what we're getting paid, and hopefully, at some point we do a good enough job, they give us a raise or whatever the scenario is. But in the old days, it was really an 8 to 5, right?
Mhm.
How do I make myself valuable enough that I can earn the wage that I want to have the kind of lifestyle I want? Then I really think it kind of changed quite a few years ago, and quite honestly, not that long ago for those of us that are a little bit older and been working since we were 12. But I mean that my first job was working in the fields clearing brush, right? Like that
Yep.
was a good summer job for me. And then hauling hay that I think I made a dime a bale for, right? So kids nowadays don't really know what that is. But what we've changed to is the value of our greatest asset, which is the employee. So people are no longer happy just going to work,
Yeah.
right? And they want to actually be fulfilled. They want to feel important. They want to be bought in. They want. We talk about as an MSP, because I'm a former, like I say, a recovering MSP. We want a seat at the table, right? We want to be able to sit with our clients and really help with the direction of their company. So they're making those next steps 2 to 3 years out, right? Well, employees want that now. They're no longer happy sitting at their desk, beating the keyboard, going home at 5, taking their 2 15-minute breaks, an hour lunch break. Most of them in the MSP world don't even get that. They want a seat at the table. That's the reason why culture has become so huge. And it's just they want to be bought into the company. They feel like they're part of it. I mean, these people spend 40 hours a week, which a lot of, if not more, which is typically more than you spend with your family during waking
Absolutely.
hours.
Yep.
So that's why culture is so huge. I think the reason why you see Gradient going as crazy it is, because let's talk about talent, right? Talent right now is extremely hard to acquire.
Oh yeah.
Gradient, when I joined in December, I think we were at like 13, 14 employees. We're over 50 now. And it's the culture. And I think one of the things I have in my slides, I have this awesome collage of basically the faces of all our employees, which is fantastic. But it's everybody here wants to be here. They want to do what they're doing. They're bought into the company. They're bought into the vision. They want to help
Yeah.
something bigger than themselves. I think that's why it's so important now.
Yeah. I spun up my first or my second MSP, the one thing that was the most impactful was no matter what happened at the beginning or at the end, everybody felt, and we used to say we're creating dream jobs. Like we're positioning and creating these roles to where it actually is making it pleasurable to want to come to work, removing all the friction points and creating optimal customer experiences. I think that when you focus on those types of things, you don't have to worry about churn. And I like what you said there, because the more people, I do recall having jobs where you go to work and you actually wait for that 15-minute break and that 30-minute lunch. And, it was just, it's so much of a different place now. And with all the new, uh, younger generations coming in, we're having to pivot and shift and change. And with remote work and all these different types of things and work-life balance recognition, it's important. And I think that, it's not just from an employee's perspective, but I think we have to have it at every level, Tim. I mean, what's your take on why you think all the way up? Because I've seen Colin out there. I see him all the time. He's out there working just like everybody else, and he talks open and freely. And I think it's really important to have that missional leader. But what is your thoughts on why it's important at every level?
Culture is important at every level simply because everybody's bought into it, right? If you're the owner of the company, you want your people to stay. That churn that we were just talking about, right?
Yeah,
That negatively affects. And this is the thing that I always love. Every MSP will say, I want my client to be faithful to me as the MSP, not to my tech. But
yeah,
yet every client is faithful to that person that takes care of them time and time again when things are going bad, when they see, you know, Frank or Bob or Julie or Joe or whoever it is taking care of them time after time. That's who they become faithful to. So that's the reason why investing at every level in culture is important. And that's what's funny is I sat through a meeting here a while back, and it was one of our structured plans that we have in the MSP world, and they were trying to push on me that culture comes by statistics. Well, if you give them enough boundaries, if you give them enough statistical direction, if you give them enough measures and KPIs or whatever you want to call them, right, that they hit, they're going to be happy. That's not happy, right? When you run your business by numbers,
yeah.
right? And I'm not debating numbers. Numbers are important, especially when you're at higher level. But when you run your business by numbers, you got churn because you're not caring about the people. You're not caring about their
Right.
needs. And that's one of those conversations was like, they were trying to tell me at my level, right? And this is, I think as a VP or director or whatever I was at the time. It's funny, you don't care about titles when you have them all, but when you're trying to get them, it's something you care about. But they
Yeah.
were trying to tell me at my level that why do I care about culture? Every level should care about culture. Every level should have that open door policy. That's how you get buy-in. That's how you get longevity, right? It's it's not just the team lead worrying about their people. It's the director of the teams worrying about all the teams and so on and so forth. It's quite honestly the intern,
Yeah.
right? If you don't empower that intern to say, hey, something seems off here, are you truly open culture? And do you truly want to know what's going on in your own organization?
Yeah.
Right. And that's got to be set at the highest level.
Yeah.
Like you said, you see Colin all the time. Colin sets the tone.
Yeah.
The other thing that we talk about is, you know, one of the sayings that I used to talk about is the fish stinks from the head down. Right. Well, that's because that top of that is the lead in the whole process.
Yeah.
Colin sets the tone for our culture. He's the
Right.
one that put it forth. And then his vision is carried through all of his VPs, through all of his directors, through all of his people. And everyone at any time in our company has the ability to talk about culture because it is that important to us.
I'm interested, for those of you that are joining us today, what are some of the things that you're doing in your company that are stimulating and building a culture? I'd love to get some feedback from those of you that are joining us, because I think it's really important for us to share, because creating a culture seems like it might just come naturally, right? We with that old water cooler effect where you just have that happen and organically. But what you're saying here is, Tim, is you got to shift the change. You got to shift it 100% to make people and allowing the employees to really buy in. Is that correct?
Yeah, you got to give them onus. You got to give them transparency. You got to give them onus. You got to give them the ability to stand up with a voice safely and empower them to say, I need to know what's going on because I don't see everything.
Yeah.
Right. And when they feel that, when they feel safe, when they feel empowered, they really feel like they can come to the company and say, hey, here's some things I think we can do different. They don't hide in their cubicles anymore. For us, we're 100% remotely. So we don't, turn our cameras on and off. But I mean, we carry it to the point where the craziest thing I've ever seen, because I'm old like this, is we have a place called Town. It's just to me, it looks like an 8-bit video game, right? Because that's kind of the era I came up in, right? Old Ataris. And, but this thing is like, it's a full blown office.
Yeah.
And I mean, you literally, if I want to talk to our director of flamboyance, I literally walk to her office with my character and ring her doorbell, and her camera comes on and we have a conversation. We also have a water cooler area. So it's not uncommon for people to say, hey, I'm going to be in the water cooler. And then we also have a co-working space. The rules vary for the space. So if you're in the co-working space, it's camera on, mic off, right? And so you're literally like you're sitting at a table just working. If you're in the water cooler space, it's camera on, mic on, so you can openly talk and visit. It's promoting the culture.
Wow. That's pretty interesting. What was the name of that again?
It's called Town. I've never heard of it until I came to
I
this
never heard
company.
of it either. That's why, and this is the world we live in, right? We live in this new world of opportunity, and you're just talking about, where we're going with this. And I think that as we see these new shifts, this is the types of things that business owners need to be considering. Like, do we have brick and mortar? Do we not? Do we have a virtual? Or are we looking towards meta as our foundational aspects of our business? I mean, there's all these different nuances of creating that culture. But you said something a minute ago, and I picked up on it, and I talk about this often because I come from that, and it's allowing people to have a voice and creating a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
What you said there was that shakes the ground a little for some businesses. Bottom line leaders like to focus on profits. Cultural leaders and missional leaders are having to change their thoughts on how they build culture and opportunity. But regardless of the two, we all have to sit at a table and everyone needs to be heard, right? And I love when you said that, because I'm curious of what your thoughts on how diversity plays a role in culture.
I think diversity plays a role in culture because you've got to give everybody a seat at the table. There needs to
Yeah.
be full representation. Now I'm a bit of a different cat, right? Like I think in the '90s, like we were killing it in the '90s,
We
right?
were.
And we've kind of taken a step back, but then the same thing, we're now pushing forward, right? Like we've seen a lot of good things culturally shift over the entire thing. And how are you completely immersive with your staff if your staff is not diverse.
Yeah.
And now I want to talk about a little bit different thing. I'm not talking about going out and hiring diversity for the sake of hiring diversity. I'm talking about, as an employer, my job should be to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to come to work, to apply for the job.
Right.
And then when they get those jobs, they need to have a voice. That's one of the things. It's another great thing I talk about grading, right? 50% of our staff is female. I think 50% of our leadership staff is female.
Yeah.
Or the diversity from a heritage standpoint, that's starting to broaden. It helps expand you as a person,
Yeah.
right? When you have people that don't look like you, that can bring you a broader perspective than maybe what you don't understand. I mean, I remember being able to, in the 90s, sit down and have a conversation with somebody and just learn,
Yeah.
right? Unfortunately, we don't seem to have that today in our current climate. So I think as company owners, as people who hire, we got to bring that into our company so that we can sit at a table and understand true diversity
Right.
and what that means and how that makes us better. Not just doing it for the sake of doing it, but truly engaging in it and understanding it.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that, from that perspective, I've always found the more diverse, the more fun you have too.
Absolutely.
Excuse me.
You can
And I
go
think
you could
it has
go
a
any
lot.
route, right? The things that you learn, I mean, there's people in our group, like, they share recipes, right? Because there's just, how do you know what somebody, you hear someone's favorite meal and you're like, you have no idea what that is. They will share the recipe. If you're close enough, they'll probably actually fix it and bring it in. We used to do potlucks back when I was in brick and mortar, and that was a thing I loved. It's like, we're doing a potluck, everybody bring in your favorite dish. And then what that does is food opens up the ability to learn.
I would have been bringing tacos. I'm just gonna be honest. That's like my thing. I love to share my taco recipe with all my staff and anybody that's around. I said that on stage one time, and I got like 40 requests for the taco recipe, and I was like, man, I should have sold that.
See, mine is homemade chicken and noodles. I was raised by my grandfather, who was born in 1903, and my grandmother taught all seven of my aunts how to make homemade chicken and noodles. And it's funny to watch how they've changed over the years when we all get together. But the point is like, man, I love that recipe. There's just nothing better. Absolutely, Tiffany. Mashed potatoes. Yeah, you can't carb load enough with chicken and noodles. You got to go with the mashed potatoes.
And now, and while we're on the topic of food, I think the biggest thing here is I want to talk a little bit about that because I think I might need one as a cough drop because I'm over coughing away and I'm not exactly sure why. But I like to always talk about sharing snacks. Now, I don't
Mhm.
know if anyone that knows me knows I love snacks, but I'm curious, Tim, what's your favorite snack, buddy?
So I have three favorite snacks, and then I'll share additional story past one of them. So one of them is Dove chocolates, dark chocolates
Oh, there you
specifically,
go. There
right?
you go.
The other one, because it's always good just for a handful, just to pop one in as you're walking along, peanut M&Ms. And then we have this thing going on in the company that when some of us together, we're all like, let's bring chips from like your area, right? Because what's funny is the company is very spread out. And as you know, the majority of
Right.
us are in Canada. But food changes. I mean, I remember
Oh yeah.
in the late 90s, like the day before I left Hawaii, I went and got, um, Filipino rice and sausage,
Yeah.
right? Then at McDonald's, right? So not just my own, but I went to McDonald's. The next day I was in Chicago and I went to McDonald's. I was like, I need, Filipino sausage and rice. And they're like, they didn't know what I was talking about. So our company has this weird chip thing going on. So mine is honey barbecue flavor
Mm,
twist. Anytime I'm somewhere and I see these, bam, I grab them.
that sounds really good. We got Monica in here talking about some wine gums. She's got a big addiction to those. So here's one for me. I don't know if anyone knows about these, but Gin Gins. These little guys, little ginger snacks. These are one of mine. And then I think everyone can synergize with a good old Mounds, right?
Yep.
I
Yep.
love me a Mounds. You know, I don't have them right now because I ate them all, but I also love the Gradient chocolate squares with the caramel in them.
Mm-hmm.
You know the ones that got
Anything caramel's a weakness.
oh, the white chocolate during Christmas killed me though. I legitimately probably put on at least 10 more pounds from those.
So my question is, can you take the gin and put it in a glass of tonic with a lime?
Mm. I'm gonna have to try that. I'm gonna have to take one and put it in my glass of water over here and find out. I don't know if I can drink on the job today. I don't know if we've crossed that border yet, but we're gonna try that.
Well,
The
as you
gin-
can see, I'm available to drink on the job at any given time.
yeah, I noticed that. I noticed you had quite the collection back there.
Yeah, here's one of my favorite glasses. So this is actually a gradient glass, but it's a tumbler. So for those of us that are fidget people, like we can drink and fidget at the same time.
I love it. I love it. And see, that's the thing about being honest about who you are and having a safe space, Tim. I think the more that you can be the authentic you, and this is what builds what we call that imposter syndrome, right? We actually are conditioning people to do that. And I like the fact that you can be who you need to be and who you want to be and still have the Gradient logo back there and still wear it proudly on your shirt and know that you're not going to suffer any repercussions from it. And I think that those are some of the motions forward on, kind of stepping into that. But before I move on to our next topic, well, now that Gingin's got me all stuck in my teeth. It's amazing though. I am still thinking about that drink though. Let's go back. One of the trivia questions I want to stop real quick. We got two lucky winners that are going to win tickets together today. Tim, what's our trivia question that we're asking today?
So the trivia question we're asking today is, why is Gradient MSP's mascot a flamingo?
I can't wait for the answer to that one. And honestly, of all the times that I've seen you guys, never once have stopped. I've always wondered, but I haven't actually asked. So this is gonna be fun. I
Well,
get to
here's the
find out
great
today
thing about it though, Juan, is we have said it. You and I both have said it probably 20 times since we've been on.
Oh, this is even better. The fact that there's an Easter egg in here is even better. So, speaking of, let's talk about what's happening and what can be done, and what are some of the thoughts that you have. Obviously, we see MSPs, we talk to MSPs all the time. We give lots of advice to a lot of MSPs, but what's being done wrong and what's being done right to help diversity in the workplace, Tim? What are your thoughts? What can we be doing differently and what are we doing right?
I think part of what's being done right is we're opening it up to be more of a safe space, right? It Once again, I'm a 90s kid. Like we didn't talk about this stuff, right? Like
We
it was
didn't.
just like if you ran into your buddy and he happened to look different than you, or you were dating a girl or she looked different than you,
Oh
or
yeah.
whatever the scenario was, like that just didn't enter our minds, right? We got to get back to where the importance of diversity is everybody feels safe being who they are. You talked about
Yeah.
that a while ago, right? I mean, there's actually a test out there, and I used to do it on a like a quarterly basis for my staff, and I want to say it's Gallup or somebody that puts it out, but it's a list of 10 questions. The one question that always was weird to me was like, do you have a best friend at work? Right. But the other question that was always extremely important to me was, are you 100% who you are? Unapologetically, like, are you who you are? And I think that's very important. You got to allow them. Now here's what I think is being done wrong in the industry to help us with diversity. In order for us as companies and us as employees to bring diversity in, we got to have access to that diversity, right? So I particularly am part of a large veterans community, and I've seen this time and time again. Like I reach out to other employers around the country and say, hey, I want to open my hiring pool to everybody. Right. And what used to drive me crazy is when I found a specific group, and I can use a veterans group as a specific piece. And I would go to this group or many groups and say, hey, I'd really like to have access to your group of veterans that are looking
Mhm.
for jobs. I'd love to see if anybody's qualified. And then they turn around and say, okay, great. It's $2,000 a month or
Wow.
$5,000 a year to access for our database. Are we truly, if you're in the business of promoting veterans, and I understand you got to get paid, right? That's not what I'm talking about. All talent acquisition get paid. But if you're in the business of supporting any group, right, regardless of what that group is based on, and you're charging access to that group, you're doing it wrong. You're doing the group a disservice. I
Yeah.
will pay you all day long. I think in my day it was like 20% of the yearly salary or 18% or whatever it was if I hired someone, but not even giving me access. Are you truly about the group you're promoting, or are
Yeah.
you about your pocket? Because
Right.
I guarantee you more people would take advantage of that if you made it about your group and not about your pocket.
And I think it's really meaningful to find organizations and operational companies that are thinking that way. I know that one of the main reasons that I do stuff with CompTIA is they're a great group and they have wonderful programs and they have all kinds of resources for diverse talent. They for women, women in tech, and all these other different types of underserved populations and communities. And I think that it's our job to find those resources and those companies that are doing right. But I like what you're saying. There are definitely companies that are trying to monetize that opportunity. And I to your point, I agree that it needs to change for sure. There's no question there.
I would say one of the other things that I think we're doing better as I talk to more and more MSPs, one of the things they're doing better is they're having deeper conversations with their own people
Oh yeah.
about what's going on in their business, about who they're hiring, right? I know there were plenty of times that as a boss, I would go in and say, you're an employer, I should say, I would go in and say, hey, we need this level of talent. So we would go out and we would actively search for that level of talent. And
Right.
as we started interviewing people, what we would find a lot of times is we would find a really great candidate that didn't fit the round hole, right?
Yeah.
They were square or triangle or hexagon or whatever their shape was. So so we ended up more hiring based on the person. Like if we found a really great person and they were super high level,
Right.
then we would just increase what our salary expectations for that position. A lot of times you find really low people technically in our world. Maybe they're fresh out of college, maybe they're second or third career people. They need that chance, but a lot of times the person just really fit the place.
Right.
So then you talk to the staff, hey, here's what we're going on. We got one who's a great fit, but he's not quite technically where we need him to be.
Yeah.
You guys understand if we want one, then we're all going to have to carry a little extra load till one's up to our level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when your team across the board, because my thing is one no is a whole no, right? But if your team holistically says, yes, we want one, we're going to take on the extra workload to get one up to where he needs to be, then that's when you know you're doing it right. Because now you're not looking at the ones and the zeros, you're looking
Right.
at the heartbeats.
And that's where I think it makes a lot of sense. Most of when I even built my MSP or even help other MSPs now, I always tell them, look for the talent. It's the hardest thing to find. You can grow anybody into any role to do any technical job. Like that's empowering people to be successful and providing the right tools, training, and techniques to make it work, right? And if you got a solid process, it's easy to follow. It's super easy to bring these people in and just help foster into that process, right? But I love where you're going because so many companies are starting to shift to hiring the right people that fit their culture more than they're
Mhm.
hiring the person that knows how to do the job that ultimately might be toxic for their culture. So we've all been there. We've all worked with somebody that knows everything, right? And wasn't maybe the best fit. Maybe, I've
No,
been there.
I used to say it all the time, right? If you have technical acumen, if you can learn, I can teach you technology, but I
Yeah,
can't learn you a personality,
that is very true.
right? And I think one of the other things that's being done right, is I think that our educational institutions are doing a better job
Yeah.
of getting people into the technical world. I mean, you remember what, 5, 10 years ago, you
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
walk in an MSP and even say the word diversity, right? There
Nope.
wasn't a lot of access to other crowds. Nowadays, it's really commonplace to walk in and find ladies in the workplace, to find other cultures in the workplace, heritage is all of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's also partly due to our educational facilities, whether it's traditional college or the technical 6 month programs, are doing a great job promoting the industry to other cultures than
Right.
just what traditionally has been there.
It's interesting you say that because there is something that I heard recently where somebody was mentioning that the stay-at-home mom is an ideal candidate for a help desk role because they actually have the ability, they're good at caring, nurturing, and they really have the flexibility to take those after hour roles because maybe the kids are sleeping at certain times and it's usually they're awake during the evening, when the kids are awake, asleep. And it was just really interesting to think of, wow, have we been missing that market for so long that we didn't empower them? We just, said, no, you need to do this one thing and you can't do this. And that's where I think the minds have started to open up in regards to how we're approaching the market space and meaningful ways for people to really engage, even those that we've never looked at before. And I love that. And you're just really synergetic with what you just said there, Tim.
Well, and the ability to multitask,
Yeah.
right? Right. I mean, you look at that. So I said earlier, right? Like I was raised by my grandfather until I was about 12 when he passed away, and then from there it was a single mom, right? The ability to multitask, and I'm probably saying something here I don't quite know how to phrase it, but the ability to multitask in women is so much better. Men are kind of like, what I find is they're kind of focused, right? Let's focus on this and let's focus on this, and they can do a lot, right? But they switch gears. Ladies, for whatever reason, have the best ability to take little bits and pieces and make sure they're all going. Great
Yeah.
detail oriented resources, right? Because they have to be. But to answer your question, yes, we have missed that market.
Yeah. And I like how you're saying that because I think back, I don't know, we should probably talk about that at some point. Like I was raised by my grandfather as well till about 12, which is when you said it, I was like, wow, we were really close there. So my mom, I remember my grandmother as well, they were always doing multiple things where they were going to work and they're cooking and cleaning and helping and doing all these things all at once with all these things running at the same time, still staying focused on the outcome of getting dinner to the table on time, making sure everyone's fed, making sure everyone's in bed.
Well,
Like,
it's the whole house, right? I mean,
yeah,
let's face it. Let's face it. It's the ability to operate. I mean, they are. I think I heard the time one time earlier. The CEO of the household, the ability to multitask, right?
yeah, I heard
But
that.
that's something I think too. Like we missed the mark, right? Like my day when I was young, went to school, right? ADD and ADHD
Yeah,
was, there was a piece of wood that corrected that. Nowadays, that's another market, right? Those people with those diagnoses are so talented,
yeah,
and their ability to just do great things, but used to, we would step away from that.
right.
Now we embrace the people they are for who they are because each person has their own talent. Whatever their physical makeup is, them as an individual is what's important to the company and the talents they bring the company. I particularly am not a detail oriented person, right? Like I admit that up front. I recognized it years ago. I walk through, make decisions, hammer things out. That's what I do, right?
Yeah,
I'm fortunate enough though that I work with some fantastic detail-oriented person. Like I referenced our director of flamboyance earlier. Mary is such a talent, and she's a former teacher, so she knows how to deal with an undisciplined child. Um, but she's such a great detail-oriented talent, and she's got so many pots in the kitchen. She's got so many tasks going on. She's creative outside. It Like, she wears me out just talking to her sometimes, but it takes her ability to help me with my ability. And
Yeah.
I think that's what we're really talking about when we talk about a culture and a team, is you really got to take each person's pluses, the best parts of them,
Yeah.
to fill in the gaps for those of us that fortunately at some point recognize, hey, you know what? I'm not the best at this.
Yeah.
And somebody will always say, I got you, because that's what we do, is we help. As people, we help each other.
I love that. And I think, one of the things I remember sitting on a plane next to a teacher and we were talking about it, and she saw something that I was working on and she commented on it. And we started having a conversation, and she happened to be a teacher that was starting a program to help autistic children learn how to code. And I was like, that has got to be the smartest thing ever, because like they're focusing on their primary um, way they think and work and enabling them to have these really great, amazing careers. And I was like, I got behind it, helped her a ton with getting that thing off the ground, and it was a major success. And I was so happy to see that, again, back to the things that we would have normally turned away from and said, oh, well, I'm not exactly sure if that's going to work. Now we're embracing them. And I love what you said, Tim. But one of the other things is like, again, back to the table, the way we're bringing new people in. You say something often that I've gravitated toward and really have taken a bite out of is, why is a pizza party not considered culture, right? And I'd love to get your take on that, because when you said it, I was like, that's an interesting comment.
Because and the reason why I say that is because what will happen is people will just come in, owners, right? People in charge will just think that, oh, I'll buy them pizza on Tuesday, or I'll do this for them. You food. It's it's really the gesture, right? So if the
Yeah,
gesture is you never buy anything, but you realize your team's working really hard and you bring pizza in, then that's culture, right? If it's, I'm just going to bring pizza in every Tuesday and call that culture, that's not culture. Because I tell you what, those people that want, maybe they want something different.
yeah,
The recognition is different. A lot of times, like the only time I would ever bring pizza in as someone who worked with technical assets, and I always considered, when you're a boss because you have to be a boss. Other
right,
than that, you should be a teammate. You're a colleague. You just do a different function in the company than they do, right? But it's one of those things where I would bring pizza in because it was a fast hand food for everybody to eat while we were in the midst of giant chaos, outages,
yeah,
crazy. All you're doing there is feeding them so you can keep working.
right,
That's not saying, how do you feel? That's not investing in who they are as people. That's not sitting down with them and saying, hey, you know what? You're just an intern today. Where do you want to be in 3 years? Where do you want to
right.
be in a year? How can we help you get there? What are your goals? That's what culture is about, is it's an investment in the person. And then that investment in the person becomes overall resounding throughout the company. And I say this one too, and it's pretty controversial. I hate when we focus on customer satisfaction scores. Absolutely despise it. And the reason why is you're focusing on the wrong thing. If you focus on your culture and you focus on your employees, making them happy, they genuinely want to come to work. They
Yeah,
genuinely want to see their coworkers' face,
yeah,
right? They want to talk to your clients. Those customer satisfaction scores will be higher than you've ever seen. And then here's
yeah,
the crazy thing from that: you will actually make more money as a company if that's what you're looking to do, because the employees are going to get the job done faster, the clients are going to be done faster, which allows you to bring more clients on with the same staff, right? So
yeah,
one of the things I talk about when I'm helping rebuild a company, or I'm looking at statistically a company that needs some help, is what's your end user count to your tech count. So
hmm,
statistics say 350 per tech.
right.
Okay, great. Well, there's companies out there doing 500.
That's all right.
Why are they doing 500? It's because their staff is so efficient at
Mhm.
what they do that they can take on more of a workload. Now, with that being said, is it really more of a workload if you're still working the same amount of days you're doing, just doing your work faster, right? But it's because they've made, not only have they processed the living snot out of everything, but they've empowered their employees. Their
Yeah.
employees are happy. You don't excel in the work you do for a paycheck.
Right.
I've seen it time and time again. We have multiple companies here in Kansas City that pay way outside the range.
Yeah.
And those people have, a lot of them have golden handcuffs. They'll never leave, even though those companies are quite honestly horrible to work for. But what you will see is you will see employees that will take less money because they love where they work. Now, I'm not saying you can pay them less. What I'm saying is you got to provide them a path to get them paid correctly. But there's a lot of times as people who run businesses, we're trying to make strategic moves that take cash to do that. And
Yeah.
sometimes that comes. But when you invest in those people and you're open with them, hey, listen, guys, we're not doing this and gals right now because we're trying to make this investment. Here's a long-term plan. Like, I was completely transparent. I opened the books. If you're a full-time employee and you want to know where we're spending the money, come
Yeah.
sit in my office. I'll walk you through the P&L and the balance sheet. Nobody wants to do that other than us, but completely transparent. But if you show them the plan, right, then they're like, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that we're doing this. They will actually a lot of times provide you insight you may not even completely have. That's what I'm talking about. Culture is giving them a seat at the table.
Yeah.
When they have that, when they feel like they're safe, they invest in your company, and then they're going to be open with you, right? It takes it takes some courage as a new hire to sit at the table with the owner and say, well, I've been doing this for about 10 years, and I don't know if what you're saying is quite correct. Here's a couple things I might add to that. And as owners, as people who run companies, our minds should be open to that.
Yeah.
Giving them a seat at the table allows them to buy into your company, and that makes you and your company better every time.
100%. They are a piece of the pie, not just being fed a piece, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
it,
no, they're an ingredient. They're a
yeah,
primary ingredient.
and that's it's interesting that you say that. We are so synergetic there because I've always been fully transparent with where we're at and like here's where we're growing and here's where we're going and here's how we're going to get there, you guys, and here's your contribution. And I also help MSPs in their current life cycle talk about don't focus on being like everyone else and grabbing industry metrics and benchmarks. And I know we hear it is controversial, Tim. I we hear it all the time. But I'm more interested in everyone being their unique self, right? Focus on the KPIs that matter to you and your people to do the right job, to deliver the right outcome, to become the business you decided that you wanted when you started this, right? And it's really important to think about things differently because the more you stare over here and become a bottom line leader focusing on this being like everyone else, you can lose sight on what's really important, and that's the people. And during the pandemic, this whole great resignation was everybody voting and stating, I don't see success here. Like, I don't
Mhm.
see myself being successful. So I'm going to go somewhere else that I feel like I will be. Right. And
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely. That's They have to feel like they're owners of the company. They
100%.
have to have stake in what they're doing. It's we're we're different in a better way. We
Yeah.
need to be invested in what we're doing. Going to work 8 to 5, 9 to 5. I mean, good Lord. I mean, my last labor job was 12-hour swing shifts in the same week, right?
Yeah.
That was a job. That's not a career. That's not
Right.
something I enjoyed. It paid really good, so I dealt with it. Giving them the investment that they're owners in the company, that they actually have to say
Yeah.
what's going on, will actually, that's what's funny. It will actually make those metrics. I've seen it time and time
I
again.
know. Yeah. It's what it does. It creates them
You
out of
walk in,
nowhere.
yes, you walk into a company, especially with
Yeah.
leadership that don't believe in culture. And you're like, you give me 6 months to a year and I'm going to blow your mind because there's processes, procedures, there's a bunch of stuff. It, I used to love this statement too, right? If you go into a company and you're a pretty crappy company and you make things a little bit better, It's just a little bit better than crappy, right? Like that's not culture. That's not improvement. That's the reason why time's so important, especially if you're a company that's, churned through a lot of employees. Your
Yeah.
glass door isn't the prettiest, right? Like you've got to, the only thing that cures anything is time.
Yeah.
So you give them a seat at the table, you make them important, and then all of a sudden what you see is you have a very happy, extremely invested staff. And then you see the statistics, the CSAT, the EBITDA, all the little acronyms that we love
Yep.
to use when we're looking at ownership level. You
Yep.
see all of those bound past anything you've ever seen before, and you'll be amazed. But you will only be amazed if you make yourself vulnerable enough to be transparent with your staff.
I love that tip. I 100% agree with you there. And I absolutely loved where you came in on that because you have to be. You have to be the transparent missional leader to be able to do this. And I think that's the best tip from this entire webinar that has come out. And I've heard over a long time is being transparent. And but that being said, we got some fun, man. It looks like I get the answer to the trivia question for today. Obviously, you guys just saw the pop-up come up here just a second ago. Team Phil, for those of you that haven't registered for Build It Live 2022, coming up July 27th through 29th, and go to the website builditlive.net, and you too can also enter the Team Phil buildit-live.net. You too can enter red code TEAMPHIL for your complimentary $200 ticket today, down from its regular price. But we got a couple winners that just won a couple tickets, and I want the answer to this trivia question. Like, it's been bugging me since we started this. So what was the
So,
trivia question, and what's the answer, Tim?
so do you want the trivia question answer first? Because I
Let's
think the way I'm reading this, I think Melissa's the one that got the trivia question right. So what was Melissa's answer? I got to know.
yeah. Well, I don't see it.
Oh,
So
so the answer to the trivia question is it's about what we talked earlier. We talked about team. We talked about people. We talked about everything that makes a community come together. So flamingos are very communal, right? So my understanding, right? Like everybody has their own spin. My understanding, it's because the flamingo represents the community, and they're all about their community. So that's kind of the big thing for us is our community.
oh man, that's where flocking good time comes from because it's a birds of a feather flock together. I love this,
Right.
man.
And
This is
then
so
so
good.
here's the bonus answer for you.
Uh-oh. And I think we might have lost Tim. Oh no.
Oh no, did
Tim.
we?
Yeah, we lost
No.
you for a second. The bonus answer was
Okay. The bonus answer, we keep talking about our director of flamboyance.
yes.
A flamboyance is a flock of flamingos.
Ah. Well, now I know. So
Now you know.
we got two winners here, and those two winners are going to be
Lisa Atkinson and Melissa Fisher.
all right. Congratulations, you guys. You guys are coming to Build It Live 2022. Then we will be reaching out at the end of the day with your tickets. You can come and also join in on the flock. You're going to have to get a picture with Tim, though.
Oh yeah, get a picture. Get a pic. We're all going to be there. We're going to have a good group there, and it's come into the booth, get a massage, have a picture with all of us in our track suits. Right.
Yes. I want to wear a tracksuit. Like, I'm just being honest right now.
I'm just
I
saying,
would.
we're pretty
I'm going to
comfy.
try to get. I'm going to try to get Cam to let us wear tracksuits. We'll see.
Yep, yep. Here's all I got to say. I got called out once because I had a regular pair of Adidas shoes on, white Adidas
Oh,
shoes, and I got called out because they weren't shellbacks, which is a type of Adidas shoe that was worn back in the day by Run DMC. But so I immediately went out and got the shellbacks, and let me tell you, they're way comfortable.
well, I think I might have seen you in them, man, and they do look good.
Oh yeah.
So, one last thing, obviously, thanks everybody for coming today. It's been amazing talking with you, Tim. Obviously, we're excited to have you come join us at Build It. You guys got a session coming up out there, right?
Oh, we got all kinds of session. Like, let's talk true diversity. Like,
Yeah,
you can go with the normal ho hum, but you guys are about education, right? You
yeah,
guys are about bringing more to the community. So we got the director of flamboyance, Mary, coming in, right? Mary's
nice.
teaching multiple sessions. She's going to be fantastic. One of the things let's talk about that we don't do so good as MSPs, marketing,
Mm.
right? We got the
Yeah.
head of heads of our marketing department, Kiki. She's going to come in and she's going to tell you, she's going to lay it out exactly the craziness. What goes on in her mind is amazing to me, the creative talent between her and Mary both. So we have tons of sessions. I'm going to be talking about a session on culture as well. We are going to talk about everything. We're going to be there for education.
Love it.
We'll talk a little bit about what we do, but we're there promoting you guys and your passion to educate and help MSPs be better, do better, have some fun along the way.
Man, I can't wait. We are definitely going to do this. For all of you that are coming out, make sure you go out and get your tickets. If you haven't registered, please register. Congratulations to Lisa and Melissa today. It's been amazing having you here, Tim. I can't wait to see you, brother. We're definitely going to. Are you coming? I want to see you soon. I think I'm going to see you in Dallas.
Yeah, you'll see me in Dallas. I can't wait either. I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see Dallas. And like I said, I've said it before, what you guys do is amazing, and I'm glad we're associated with you guys.
Well, it's a pleasure, Tim, and we're going to see you all soon. Thanks for everyone joining us today. Like, care, and subscribe. We'll see you all July 27th through 29th.